Welcome to this really exciting update, actually a couple of updates for the channel. First of all, thank you so much for being so patient with me. It has been a much longer hiatus than I anticipated. But the first update is that Doctor Who reactions are officially back as of this week. So starting this Saturday, you're going to be getting a new Doctor Who reaction each week. I already have the first few scheduled. Have not had copyright issues here lately, so think we have it nailed. Have an editor hired. There might still be some kinks to work out. He is being trained and getting, brought up to speed with what I like to keep in the episode, what I don't. So you might notice a little flub here and there, a little mistake or something. You might notice actually that some videos look a little different than the others, like different transitions, and that's just because I'm still editing some myself, and he's doing some, and we're using different programs. So if there's anything odd like that, just please bear with me, bear with us, as he fully gets into the swing of things, and then kind of hopefully he can run with it in the future. But we're gonna go ahead and get going with these, rather than making sure that they're absolutely perfect for you. So as of this week, every Saturday, new episode at 8 a.m. Mountain Time, because that's the time zone I'm in. I realize that you're going to eventually probably want more than one episode, and I would love to be able to do that for you, bring you more than one episode a week. But for the foreseeable future, until I'm able to bring all the shows back that I have on the channel, that I was doing before the hiatus, it's going to be one per week, but hopefully that will suffice. If you're curious about any of the spinoffs of Doctor Who, I have started watching Classic Who, Torchwood, and the Sarah Jane Adventures. As of when I'm recording this, which is just a few hours before it goes live, I have watched through Series 3 of Torchwood, through Series 1 of Sarah Jane Adventures, and I am in Series 4 of Classic Who, or actually Season 4 of Classic Who. Now, with Classic Who, I haven't watched every single episode. What happens is, prior to Season 3, when we start, having all these missing episodes, what I did was I had my Patreon members vote on which stories I needed to react to each season. And then the ones with the most votes, that's what I react to. Because, there are some that, generally speaking, we can skip. But for these seasons, or these seasons where we've had so many missing episodes, I've just been doing what I have available to me on BritBox, which is where I'm watching it. So that's how that goes. That's kind of how it probably continues to go, because I know we've got a few seasons with these missing episodes, and so I'll just do what I can. And then once we get back to being past that, where we have every episode, it'll likely go back to being a Patreon poll where they get to vote on what stories I'm going to watch. So if you want to be part of that, go check out Patreon. And I am going to be finishing Torchwood and Sarah Jane Adventures. Torchwood right now on Patreon, they just got episode 27, I believe, last week, and they're getting one a week. With Doctor Who over on Patreon, they're getting 2 episodes a week. So as of the time that I'm recording this, I actually just wrapped up the 2009 special. So I just said goodbye to the 10th Doctor over there. Those are all in watch along style over on Patreon. So you do need to have your own copy to watch alongside mine. But I have timers and different things that I do in the video to help make it easier for you to sync up yours with mine so that they play at the same time. And if you're based in the UK or using a UK site where the streaming rate is different from us here in the US, I had an amazing Patreon member put together some very detailed instructions on how to get your copy to sync up with mine, and several other Patreon members said that the instructions worked for them, and so now they can do the watch-alongs. So have all of that over there for you. But yes, they are getting 2 episodes a week over on Patreon of both Classic Who and Doctor Who, and then 1 episode a week of Torchwood, and then Sarah Jane Adventures. I'm just doing them as I get them done. It's not on a regular schedule right now. Okay, so those are all of the updates for Classic Who. Going into One Tree Hill, if you're here for that show, One Tree Hill has continued over there as well. They are also getting 2 episodes a week. So as of when this goes out, because they release on Tuesday, so the day this goes out, I'll be recording episodes 2 and 3 for season 4. So I haven't watched them yet, but by tomorrow morning I will have, if you're watching this the day it comes out. So yeah, there are several seasons ahead over there. For What We Do in the Shadows, I have finished everything that there is to watch for that. I am completely current on that show over there. So those are all over there as well. I have released a bunch of pilot episodes and I started movies over there a few months ago, which kind of leads me to my next update, which is for Star Wars. So as of the time that I am recording this, I literally just finished watching episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker, like at 20 minutes ago. And the whole thing was amazing. I have really enjoyed my Star Wars journey. And as I promised when I originally brought this up a few months ago in like a community post, I decided to check out Star Wars and see how it went. And I was releasing movies like as I went over on Patreon. But I was told that it was probably a good idea to not release any on YouTube until I knew I was going to stick with it. And I've stuck with it, obviously. So those are going to come to YouTube now. I am doing holiday movies in December, but then on January 11th, Star Wars movies are going to start. They're going to start coming out on YouTube. I did go in release order, so A New Hope will be the first one up, and we're going to rotate that. So it's going to be every other week. So like, for example, on January 1st, it's going to be Knives Out, and then we're going to go to Star Wars A New Hope. And then the following week will be Blood Diamond. Then we're going to go back to Star Wars with Empire Strikes Back. Then it's going to be What We Do in the Shadows, the movie. And then we go back to Star Wars Episode 6, Return of the Jedi. So you can kind of see the pattern there. We're going to rotate every other week. That way, if you're not here for Star Wars, you're not just like missing out for, several weeks. So we are going to rotate those starting on January 11th. I have seen all of the movies. I have not seen any of the spinoffs. So absolutely no spoilers, in case I do watch some of the spin-off shows at some point. Okay. After that, the next update is that I have also over on Patreon started my MCU journey. So thanks to Clara over on Patreon, she is a member of the Britney's Bestie tier, which is a tier where you get to select one movie or two TV show episodes for me to watch each month. She's been on it for a few months and she's had me do Iron Man and Iron Man 2 so far. And I have been loving it. And those are already on Patreon and they're going to continue over there. However, now that I have wrapped up Star Wars, I am going to be basically putting Marvel in its place. So over on Patreon, I did the same thing where I rotated every week, was a regular movie and then a Star Wars movie. And now starting in January, the Star Wars are going to be replaced with Marvel movies. So over on Patreon, we're going to continue along. She's having me watch Thor in December, I believe. It's not finalized yet, but then we're going to continue on where I, in January, do, every other week. It's going to be a Marvel movie. And then when Star Wars wraps up on YouTube, then Marvel movies are going to continue. So just as an FYI, Iron Man will come out on June 7th next year, which seems kind of crazy to be talking that far in advance. But that's when, so Star Wars is going to wrap up. And then the next week, we're going to start with Iron Man. But if you don't want to wait until June to get started in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, you want to see my reactions now, head over to Patreon. So one final update. As you can see, I do have some things kind of planned fairly far out in advance. Now that I know that the channel is back, now that I know what we're doing with it, I can actually start planning for some things. So I don't have dates yet for One Tree Hill or What We Do in the Shadows. One Tree Hill will be the next one to come back. And I'm aiming for early spring, maybe March, to start bringing those back. But I do have a bit of travel coming up in January and February. So don't hold me to that. It may get pushed back further, but that's my goal. And then What We Do in the Shadows will come out after that. But if you are curious at any time about the schedule, I have a spreadsheet that is linked in the description below. That link actually takes you to 4 different spreadsheets. One for the Patreon schedule, so you can see what's being released over there. One for the YouTube schedule, so you can see what's coming up here on YouTube. One for the movies that I have reacted to. So if you're curious if I have a reaction for a movie, especially since I've been doing them for several months over on Patreon, you can go check out the list and see what I have. And then I have a list for the pilot episodes that I have reacted to. And those have all been released on Patreon as well. So at any point in time, if you want to know what is happening with the channel, what's been released, what's coming up, that link is your go-to. That one link gives you all that information. So that will be in the description for every single video going forward. It actually will, I'll probably add them to the old videos. So that is your link if you're ever curious. And then the final update is that I did have, just kind of as an FYI, a few months ago, we do monthly calls for my Patreon members. So we do a call once a month, like a live Zoom hangout. And on one of those calls, it was requested that I open a PO box. So I did do that. So if for any reason you're curious about that, the address is in the description of every single video as well. And that is all of the updates. So we've got Doctor Who coming back starting this week. We've got Star Wars coming up at the beginning of January, holiday movies happening in December, schedules for you to check out, Patreon address, Marvel movies coming up. So lots of exciting things happening. And I definitely would not be trying so hard to do this and to bring YouTube back if it weren't for you. So seriously, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you. Some of you have been here and been patient with me. It's been like 9 months now, which is insane. I thought it was going to be like 3. So you are incredible. I so appreciate you. And I am going to continue to bust my ass to, keep things going here on YouTube because I love it. And I love interacting with all of you. And I love checking out all of these new shows and having my heart ripped out of my chest on a regular basis by everything I'm watching. So, yeah, I'm just excited to start this new phase of everything, especially here on YouTube. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And if you haven't already, please subscribe and go ahead and like this video as well. Thank you. And I'll see you on Wednesday with my next movie reaction, which is Freaky, the movie with Vince Vaughn. And then on Saturday for our next Doctor Who.